This is Izzy Dakota Jones with the Art of Doing Podcast 2021. And we got a very special guest here this afternoon. We'll be talking to Darby Mills, formerly of the Headpins and now the Darby Mills Project. One of the best rock and roll singers on the planet. Great voice, great songs, great performing. There's nothing more you can say. I mean, it is great. It just is. Watching her is great to watch. She's an incredible singer and songwriter and performer. There's nothing more I can say, anything less than she's one of the best. So stick around. We're going to have a nice conversation with Darby Mills and see what she's up to, what she's going to be doing in the future, and how she feels about where we are at this point in time in the world. So hang in there. We'll be talking to Darby Mills.
Hey.
Hey Darby, how are you?
I'm doing okay, and you?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Just read a message this morning from a dear friend in Vancouver who has tested positive. So
Oh,
it's
gosh.
like, okay, that's 3 friends now. So
Yeah. Like there's like the other day at Birmingham there was 103 patients.
Yeah.
And there's and get this, Darby. Yesterday they had to shut a whole ward down because they don't have enough staff. The nurses are off. There's over 95 nurses off.
Yeah, it's a joke, all right.
Yeah. Like, because in my porter department, like we had one person phone in sick and probably just whatever. I don't know, nothing like that, but just phoned in sick. And anyway, so they had only one person working. We had this young kid. He's like 22 years old. He's like, it's probably his first real job. You know what I mean? And so he's a little green. So last night he had to work for the first time by himself, and he was really panicking. Right?
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
I would be.
I felt sorry for him. He goes, "If I would have known that, I wouldn't have come in, Joe." I said, you know what? Just work. I've watched you play for a long time. And this is true, Darby. I really respect you a lot as a singer. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you because I do. I think you're an incredible singer. The energy you bring across is just bloody amazing. I've seen you sing. I've seen lots of people sing over the years, but I think Darby. It's not blowing smoke up here, but I really think you're probably one of the best rock singers in Canada I've ever heard. I do. I really think that. I really do.
Well, I wish I could take that to the bank.
Yes.
Unfortunately, no such luck. They really don't give a shit. Neither does Hydro or anybody else. But thank you for those kind words.
No, I do. I think that because I remember you all the way back. You were in Steelback too, weren't you, for a while?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. I remember that. I think because I remember I was in a band back then called Showbiz Kids. And I remember seeing you guys playing at a few different places. We would follow you guys into the the different circuit bars, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, right? And then
Yeah.
I remember when you finally got you got into the Headpins after Denise McCann was there, right? I think Denise was there before you, right?
She was the first singer for sure.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I have my versions of what happened that gave me the position, but
Yeah.
I'll keep that to myself.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I just recently heard Denise's version, and it's not the same as the one I got. So
No. Yeah, I've seen both, and yeah, it's not the same. No, yeah. I really, the first time I saw you with the Pins was I saw you and Brian and them. It was an interesting show. I wasn't playing that weekend, but it was Vancouver's Tonight, and you guys were upstairs, and my buddy. I'm trying to remember the guys, the musicians I used to know in the band that was playing downstairs. Anyways, I can't remember the name of the band at this moment, but they were playing downstairs, and you guys are playing upstairs, and they had to take a break when you guys started because you guys are just so fucking kicking it. It was unreal. I went into the room, I just like, holy fuck. Right?
The first time I went to see the Headpins, it was with Steelback, and we had the odd day off. I can't. It wasn't very regular back then. Everybody worked solid
Yeah,
in
yeah.
those days, right?
Yeah.
But we did manage to get down. The headpins had been around. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months. I'm trying to remember. My numbers might be wrong, but so we did go down, and they were downstairs. The headpins were downstairs, and Teddo was doing sound, which he did for the first couple of years I was with them as well. And I just remember thinking they were so loud.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like we only stayed for a couple songs because it was just like, but this was just beyond. It wasn't working for me. It was very odd to have events happen unfold probably within 2 or 3 months of that night.
Wow, yeah.
That I landed the job with the band.
Because I remember, like, now I remember who it was. It was Bob Muckle. Bobby was a drummer. I don't know if you know Bob. And Bob played in a band called the Empty Vessels too, and a whole bunch of different bands. And and I remember going to see Bob, and I didn't know you guys were upstairs. And then when I got to the bar, and Bob says, "Oh, we got a break." I says, "Why?" He says, "Well," they said, I never forget. Brian and Darby are upstairs, and Ab, and he says, "And we can't hear ourselves downstairs, so we have to take a break." Right? He said, "It's not, but let's go upstairs." So we all went upstairs and watched you guys play, and that was lots of fun. I really enjoyed that show. That was. Like, you know, you got to see a band. Like, you guys were like at that point. I thought you guys were like, you know, definitely you get to see a concert band in a small venue. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like that was really, and it was packed. But I mean, I really enjoyed it. I know it was loud, but I kind of went like, fuck, this is real rock and roll, right? This is the real deal, right here, right?
Well, they were. Sorry, my printers just decided to go off. I have no idea what it's printing. Oh, lovely. Oh, jeez. Oh, maybe my kid's printing something off from somewhere else. Holy crap. 30 pages right now. What the heck is going on? Oh, my God. It's nonstop.
I can hear it going.
I know. It's finally hit stop. Sorry about that.
No. It's all good. It's all part of the thing, right? It can happen.
They're Vancouver Tonight, or Spunky's El Morocco, is how it started. There was debauchery of all kinds. Yeah. Going on at that room. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, I do too. I remember too. Like, so on like I was at work a couple of days ago, and you know, you guys, your songs came up on the radio, and I was just thinking, how did you prepare for that? Like when you were in the studio back then. How, I mean, in the sense as a singer, like, did you get the songs, and how did you work them, Darby, to get them to where you felt comfortable?
I'm not quite clear on your question.
Like the feel, in the studio. How did you get the feel down? How did it? Did you work? Did Brian work with you on that? Who produced you guys at that time? I don't even remember who was producing you.
Well, Brian McLeod was one of the producers. Dave Slagzer, that was his stage name. Right. Produced all 3 albums with Brian. And Matt Glover was the engineer, and then it was Ab and I in the studio for the 3 albums, basically. Wow. Okay. Occasional guest drummer come in.
Yeah, I remember that.
Brian basically played all the drums and all the keyboards and all the guitar, and we only had 2 or 3 songs together when we went in to record Turn It Loud, the album, and the rest of the songs were written while we were in there. So it was like, try this, try that. No, that doesn't work. Try this, try that. So I was not prepared at all for all but maybe 3 of the songs on the first album. Basically, everything else was written while we were in the studio. So it was...
really spontaneous then, right?
It was, and in that sense, it was a lot more work because everything was so, see if that works. There was nothing set, right? There was nothing, oh, this is really good, we'll go in and record it. It was like, okay, so here's the groove, what do you got lyrics, Darb? Or here's what I did on a cassette, go home, write some lyrics, come back, and we'll see if they work. So it was all very much spontaneous.
Wow, that's great too, in a lot, in some senses, right? Because then you have to get your thoughts. You know what I mean? Like at the moment, right? You're just very spontaneous. That's great.
Yeah, at $150 an hour, it's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, $60 an hour. Yeah, yeah. Back then, studios were a lot more expensive, right? Too. I remember that recording in studios. You know, I remember that. We used to record at Blue Wave with Tom Lavin, right? And that was interesting times there too, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yes. So when did you guys start after the album? Did you guys start going into opening up for people? I can't remember when you guys were out playing and stuff.
Well, after Turn It Loud came out, well, originally the first recording that came out was Vancouver Seats 2, where we did When a Man Loves a Woman
Yes.
and Breaking Down.
Yeah.
That kind of started the ball rolling, even though Chilliwack had just got back on their feet after having lost their deal with Mushroom because Shelley Siegel died.
Right.
And so Chilliwack was on hiatus, and that's why the Headpins came to be. That's why Matt Burnett was the original drummer, because Otherboy was waiting for their first album to come out, so Matt was doing nothing. Um, yeah, that's the groundwork of the Headpins, and then Chilliwack and everybody else that was signed to Mushroom Records went through that hiatus, and it was during that time that Solid Gold Records came out and
That's
signed
right,
Chilliwack for the latest album at the time, and that's when they were introduced to us live, and that's when I got signed to a Solid Gold deal. No one else did.
Wow.
Brian Ab were already signed to Chilliwack, so
Right.
they got around that by simply just signing me. So that's one of the reasons, or if not the reason, why Brian and Ab are not credited on the Turn It Loud album as players or anything, because at the time it wasn't cool to be in multiple bands.
Yeah. Yeah, nowadays everybody's in like 4 or 5 bands, right?
Yes, by necessity, yes.
Yeah. Just out of necessity. That's interesting. So some of the shows you've done over the years too, going back, I'm going to go right up to where you are now, but like going back to those days too, some of the bigger shows. There was a story once, was it you told it about meeting? Was it what's the name? David Coverdale from Whitesnake?
Yeah.
Yeah, and David was was it at the 86th Street or something? There was some situation where you guys are playing there, and David Coverdale came in and he was talking to you guys.
Well, we toured with them.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what it is. Okay, yeah, you toured with Whitesnake. How was that experience?
You know, between ZZ Top and Kiss and Whitesnake, those were three of the most extreme experiences in the business.
Yeah, I bet.
We did full tours with them, so we got a chance to get to know them a little bit. I mean, Whitesnake, Cozy Powell,
Yeah,
Joanne Ward,
yeah,
David Coverdale, John Sykes, Neil Murray. I mean, that was Neil Murray's Knighted, for crying out loud. Touring Europe, filling the biggest venues they've got over there. And
yeah. They're not
having
small.
this
Yeah.
crazy wild time. You know, we played the Hammersmith Odeon with them.
Wow.
You know, how cool is that?
Yeah,
Anyway,
that is
so,
very cool.
Yeah. Then they came to town. Well, it was because of the tour with us and talking with McLeod, I'm sure, that they brought them to Little Mountain to record their next album at Little Mountain.
Wow, that's great. And then you just mentioned ZZ Top too, was one of my favorite bands too back in those days. You know, I saw ZZ Top in the Commodore, like, you know, just when I think they just finished releasing Tres Hombre, right? You know, and that was the early days for them, and they were just so tight. It was just like, holy shit, these guys are unreal. You know, they were smoking hot. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, that's amazing to be. That almost, to me, that must word I'm looking for. It must take you up to another level. Like, you know, like you know what I mean. Like you're on your A game every night. You know, with touring with a band like that, right?
Well, you should be.
Yeah.
If you've made it there, you should have the ability to, instead of having one good night out of 10, maybe one bad night out of 10.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much, Brian ran the band with as one radio personality said to me about 6 years ago, he said that, I'm just wondering, Darby was working with McLeod, I've heard this term before, kind of like boot camp, and I'm like, you know what, that's probably the most adequate description of what working with Brian McLeod was like. It was boot camp. You definitely had to get down in the mud and damn well crawl out of it, for sure.
Yeah. It's like going to war, right? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I can see that. Yeah. So now, leading up to where you are now with your Darby Miles project, right? What are some of the goals that you plan on doing with this project? I've seen the project a couple times at the Fairview, which is gone, and that was a nice intimate site to see you at too.
Yeah, well, they were kind enough to let us go in there and kind of get ready for
for the bigger shows and stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
So, the plans to get back to work. Goodness gracious, it's a little bit daunting to plan anything right now. We did, this year, our big effort this year, besides trying to stay alive with no work and no income, we invested in the medley. It's a video called The Medley. It's a 13-minute video, and it contains 6 mashed up versions of Headpin songs that we don't play in our set, and that comes from every show I've done as a solo artist with the project. There has been 1 or 50 people say, are you doing this Headpin song? Are you playing this song? The promoters as well, they want to make sure I'm doing and singing Headpin songs. And, to me, even though we did have a third of our show was Headpins, a third originals and third just great cover tunes.
Oh, I know. Talk about that. You know what my favorite cover tune song that you did was is it Spooky? Am I thinking of that one? Or Louie?
Brother Louie, yeah.
Yeah, wow. You knocked that out of the park, Darb.
Yeah, well, just great songs like that I've wanted to do for years and years, and just was not, it wasn't in the cards. So the objective for the band is to go out and do a show that people leave happy or smiling, and so filling the night with B-sides that weren't singles, it fills up the night, but it doesn't fill up the musical, cavity. So that was my objective. I mean, we could have done 100% originals, but once again, that would have been filling the night with songs that people aren't familiar with.
Yeah.
So that was our choice, and in hearing every show and every promoter when, why aren't you doing Breaking Down? Why aren't you doing, Celebration or whatever? And so the boys in the band finally, in January, as we were getting our last rehearsal in, ready to go to the Fairview in March, or was it April?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was
That was the start of the end right there. The guys in the band at a rehearsal just said, you know what, Doug, why can we do a medley? Would you be interested in doing a medley? And I'm like, no. You know what? That's not a bad idea. That way we scratch that itch for the people calling up going, I'd like to book the band. How many Pin songs do you do? And so now basically we're able to play, in total we cover 6, 7, 8, 9 Headpin songs, and still do, at this point our set list I think is like 24 songs. So it's a full night for sure.
Wow. That's good. That's really good. And like you said, you're covering all your bases, right? And people leave with something that they can hang their hat on. You know what I mean? When they leave. Like for me, like I said, like I mean, I liked all the Pin songs for sure. But like I said, that one song, that cover song, I was just super impressed because I remember hearing that song, on the radio as a kid, and I was just like, then I hear you doing it. I'm going like, I haven't heard that song for a long time, right? You know, like, and that brought back memories, right? Which that's what sparked me right there. And I went, later I talked to Randy, your guitar player, and because I know Randy, I played with Randy before, and I said to Randy, I just says, that's a great fucking song she sang. He says, yeah, you liked it. I says, just loved it. I says, that's the kind of thing I like to go to a show to, beside finding something like you said that actually moves you, in the audience, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Which, and you like that. Switching gears completely and not wanting to take any attention away from the project. It is my main focus, but when this year unfolded as it did, my intention a couple of years back when I started the project, a couple of the players are lifers. They don't have day jobs, and I'm like, why don't we put together this three-piece where we can go out and play these smaller venues and still come home with some money in our pockets. And we attempted to get it off the ground, and it didn't work. It didn't work. Anyway, so earlier this year, I've got some friends here locally in the Okanagan that are world-renowned players, and they're all dying to get something together as well. So I posed the question, would you be interested in putting together a project that does nothing but Brother Louie's? In other words, those songs that people will go, oh my God, I haven't heard that. So we have 38 songs put together. We right now had to be stopped rehearsals because of COVID. So we're kind of in another freeze frame right now, waiting to get back in and get these songs polished up, because we'll be, in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong, but at least it's trying to keep my voice in shape, although the songs here are totally different. They're not belters, as I am a belter, or became a belter through the choice of songs that I sing. A lot of these songs are way softer and very uncharacteristic for the singer of the Headpins. So I'm really excited about bringing a whole new entity to my being,
because you can, Darby, you can sing. Definitely, you can sing. I can tell in your voice, you definitely can sing. In a nice soft tone too. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can hear the wispiness in your voice. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I'm a singer, so that when I will listen to you sing, that's exactly what I can hear those subtleties in your voice. That'll be really interesting to hear. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, instead of just going full bore, right?
Yeah, and probably be sitting for most of the night too. So it's very different, and it's been very interesting retraining my voice to be able to sing that way.
Right.
But as I am now in the over 60 club, quite honestly, I don't know how many years I have left or how many years my throat's going to be able to do. Come on.
I know what you mean.
So, and you know what? I don't know if I want to be 70 years old in fishnets on the stage screaming. It's like, my heroes are Tina Turner and
I was going to ask you that.
Cher, and they gave it until those years. Cher's still doing it, and so, but she's doing it, making a couple mil a show. That's
big
not
difference.
In my card.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's amazing.
I'm going to try and prepare myself for the inevitable, which is when that little muscle in my neck decides that it's not going to give that.
Yeah.
It can't contract that strongly anymore, so I'll have something to fall back on.
Yes.
I'm a lifetime musician. This is how I make my money. I am going to try to continue to keep my job alive for as long as I can. Yeah,
and that's great, because that's like talking about David Coverdale. I saw David at the casino about 2.5 years ago, and he had lowered the keys, right? The key changes in the songs, some of them, and and I was really close to the stage, so I could watch him real close up, and he did a really good job, Darby. He kind of like he made it work for him, you know, at this stage of his career, right? And same when I went and saw the Who the last time and saw Roger Daltrey. Daltrey seemed to just be able to sing so much better. Like I seen the Who like when I was a kid, and you know when you could really belt it and stuff, and he just found ways around it that didn't cheat. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't cheating the song or nothing. He actually made it sound just as good, if not better, right?
Yeah, well, I just someone shared a Turn It Loud, a song off Turn It Loud. I can't remember which one it was. Just recently on social media, and I haven't listened to the Headpin original stuff for a long time, and I listen to it now, going, wow. I think I sing those songs better today than I did back then. Back then it was basically balls to the walls, no subtleties, no you know, it was just, it was a 21-year-old giving it her all, and continued to this day, 40 plus years later. But I have matured, my things have lowered, and even though I'm still doing everything in the original keys, I think this have more, they have more soul.
Yeah, I was just going to say that to you, more depth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when I'm singing nowadays and I listen to stuff, like I used to sing super high, like really high, Darby, and you know, I sound like Michael Jackson. You know, it was that high at times, right? And back then in those days, that was catered for a lot of stuff, right? You know, and you know, I listen to tracks back then to now, and it's the odd time, and I go, fuck, there's no way I can do that now, right? But so what I've done is, like when I sang at one gig, and I had this one lady singer singing backups for me, you know, she said, I noticed you change it differently, and I says, well, you know, now I look at it like I maybe could sing like Robert Plant before. Now I try to sing like Jim Morrison. I said the difference is that I just put a little. I think I give it a little more soul and more feeling now than I did. I think, you know, like you said, I agree with you. I think it just before I just went for it, right, and made sure I was as accurate as I could be, whatever I was delivering. And now I feel like that too. I feel I'm more soulful now than I was, you know, 20 years ago, right, 30 years ago. Yeah, I think I think you still got that in your voice. I when I listened to you the last time, I didn't think you lost an inch, quite frankly.
Well, I haven't dropped the keys yet. Who's to say it won't happen? But the day that happens, we'll deal with it.
Yeah, and I went to see Paul McCartney the last time, and Paul doesn't lower the keys, and sometimes you wish he would have a couple songs, right? Because you know, poor Paul. I love Paul McCartney, but then you just go like, Paul, Jesus, man, lower the key, right? You know, like the song is not coming off the way it should, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. I didn't go see him, but I've seen some footage, and it was it's kind of disheartening when you see somebody not being able to shine as you know they can. And, kudos. I mean, kudos to him getting up and still doing like a 3-hour show, Darby. Like that blew my mind. The last time I saw him, he did a 3-hour show. Darby didn't stop once. And my mouth was dropping. I says, I can't even do 3 hours. You know? For sure. And he, you know, he's older than, I said to my friends, I says, he's way older than me. I says, holy shit. I says, amazing. But like I said, yeah, you haven't lost a stride. I really enjoyed the last show I was at watching you, and I was in, you know, like nothing. It's almost like time stands still in a sense, you know, when I was watching you, because I just thought, you know what. This is great. And you're a great piece of Vancouver history too. Great piece of. You are. I'm an East End kid, right? So East Vancouver. So I think you're a big part of it, right? And then especially the music scene in Vancouver when we were all around, it was really strong back then, right? You know, and I kind of missed that strength that we had. You know, it's kind of not there like it used to be, right? Oh, it's not that it's kind of not there. It's not there, and it will probably never be there again. I don't see It's kind of like the Haight-Ashbury times. It was an epic time of growth and freedom and just letting her rip.
Yeah.
People coming out to the bar 5 days, 6 days, 7 days a week and still getting to their jobs. I have a feeling I know why that was, and thank goodness it doesn't exist to the extreme that it was back then. But my kids couldn't do that. My 20-year-olds and above could not handle that kind of lifestyle. So it was an era that I have publicly thanked the universe many times for bringing me to this planet, this plane, when it did, so that I could experience the 70s and 80s and a little bit of the 90s, which that's when it really started changing.
Yeah, it did. It started changing in the 90s. That's for sure. But like I said, that whole era, like what you were mentioning, all the different people around town, like, I remember watching Bryan Adams in the first starting putting his band together and playing at the Cave, the Cave Supper Club, right?
Yeah.
And I was good friends, and who did sound for me back in those days in Showbiz Kids was Mike Fallonia, and I know you know Mike, right? So Mike was our sound man for a long time, and so Mike would always get us into all the local shows too if we weren't gigging and stuff, right? And we used to do a house gig down at Gary Taylor's there for a while too, and so that was interesting too. I bumped into Gary Taylor too a while back too. He was an interesting character.
For sure, and he's still alive and kicking, from what I can tell. So
yeah, I did. We with my little blues band. I have a little blues band too, and he actually booked the room, and so Harvey got us the gig through Gary, and then Gary saw me and he says, "Holy shit, I haven't seen you forever." And I says, "Well, yeah." I says, "It's great." I says, "It's really good to see you." I says, he says, "Yeah, I'm still booking 1 or 2 gigs here and there." It was really quite interesting to watch, right? But that whole scene, Darby, was, it was really, really cool. And like you guys were major part of that. So I'm really honored today to have a chat with you too. I appreciate that. Well, that's great, Darby. I gotta say, like I said earlier, it's a great talking to you, and and I known Brian for a really long time too. So through the Feldman and Bruce Allen days too, right? So, did you guys ever? By the way, did you guys ever play the Town Pump back in those days too?
The Town Pump is where the Vancouver Seeds 2 was recorded.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we played there quite a bit, actually.
I remember that. I'm trying to remember that, yeah.
We were a club act, yeah. We frequented the Town Pump, yeah.
Yeah, when you were in the bar days, yeah. And then as you moved up, like I said, you like we were saying earlier, you played all those big arenas. That's, like I said, the arenas, that sounds great with those bands. I know I'm rehashing this, but that sounds amazing. And Europe, whereabouts did you go through? All through Europe? Where did you guys? Well, I want to get that in before. Did you play like all over the globe mainly? Like a lot of like how long were the tours?
Well, every tour was a different length, right? The Wednesday tour, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks through England and Germany, and the ZZ Top tour. We were supposed to get the American leg of the ZZ Top tour, but that came to an abrupt halt in Calgary. Our third last show, because after Calgary we came to Vancouver and played 2 nights in Vancouver. But right across the country, ZZ Top, we were at our height. People were really supporting us at the time, and I remember one night, even though every night was like this, but one particular night, I think it was in Quebec City or Montreal, we were in their arena, hockey arena.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd finished the show, our set, and of course ZZ Top was not letting us take encores, and they would turn the house lights on the minute we left the stage.
Yeah.
And so, we sulked into the dressing room, and we were in there, and the crowd was stomping so hard, dust and stuff was falling from the ceiling onto our booth. And it was actually a little bit scary because it wasn't just some dust. It was like shit was coming down from the ceiling.
Wow.
And we're like, they're going to riot. They're going to frickin' riot, which, yay, but holy crap, let's get to the bus. And so we came across the country. We were in the same reaction every night, and we were in Calgary. We played Edmonton, came to Calgary, and then Vancouver, as I mentioned. And we left the stage, finished the show. We left the stage at the Saddle Dome, and basically there wasn't a hand in the house that didn't have a lighter back in the day.
Yeah.
There were no cell phones. It wasn't lit, and it lit up the inside of the dome, and the house lights didn't come on, and the crowd was going crazy and yelling and screaming, and it was just like they're giving us. The reaction is so strong tonight because Calgary was our biggest record selling. We went gold in Calgary alone for the first album.
Cool.
And so we turned around, went back out on the stage, and I believe we did People, which is, a
Great song.
8-10 minute song. Left the stage, went to the dressing room going, we rock the house, we rock. Our road manager came in and said, we screwed up. And it's like, what are you talking about? We just blew the house down. He says, yeah, the reason why we got an encore is because the intercoms went down. They couldn't get the house lights turned on. We've taken the show however many minutes over. Now they're going to have to pay the union. They're pissed off, and we just lost the American tour.
Oh, shit, yeah.
2 days later, 2 shows later, I get a phone call from our then management saying that I have no longer got a job with the Headpins, but I retained the record contract in LA with MCA, and I will be going down to Los Angeles to start writing for a new solo project. That was part of the point I was telling you the story. Oh, and then while that was all happening, as a strange coincidence, I happened to wander into Bruce Allen's office one day, having been told I need to go talk to him, which he gave me some crazy information about what things were. There were some things on the table waiting for me to answer that never got through to me. So I lost some really cool opportunities in that time. But at that point found out Headpins had broken up, of course. Well, not of course. I'd lost my job, and they were not working without a new singer at that point yet. So Ab got the job with Jimmy Barnes, who did the American tour with ZZ Top. So
yes. Yeah.
It's a crazy small world, right?
It is. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I remember Jimmy Barnes, too, because he was gigging here a bit, too, because Mike Faloney met him, too. That's right. Yeah, I remember that whole period. Yes.
Yeah, a couple Canadian artists went down and spent the year in Australia working with Jimmy.
Yeah, that's right, too. Yeah. Wow. That's a great story, actually. Wow. That's funny like that, eh? I mean, who was it that I know? What's his name? The bass player from Prism, El Harlow, right? El was telling me when they played with the Beach Boys that they weren't allowed to. They're supposed to be off the stage and out of the building before the Beach Boys were on stage.
Sounds like the dates we were doing with Bret Michaels. It was Headpins. Singer from Guns N' Roses, and then Bret Michaels headlining was his tour.
Okay.
But God, what's his name? I can never remember his name. That's so sad. Anyway, he wasn't allowed to be in the building when Bret Michaels was in the building because they were fighting. So he had to, same thing. He had to leave the. This is the latest version of the Headpins. So about 9-10 years ago, this was happening, and or at least the latest version that I was part of.
Yes.
But yeah, a crazy time. And then that whole episode sent me over to London, England. I recorded with Pete Townsend at Eel Pie in Pete Townsend's studio.
Did you really? Wow.
Got to see Pete every day and worked with Tony Levin and played bass on the track.
Yes.
Conga player from Santana, backup singer from Mike and the Mechanics.
Wow.
Who else was in there? The producer was Greg Walsh from Tina Turner.
Oh, you're kidding me. You must have been blown away by that, right?
It was, every day there was somebody coming in that I would bow down to at the door, right? But that ended up falling apart as the A&R man that kept me on as a soloist ended up getting inspired, I guess, when I was over in London. I came home to get some more songs together, and then there was, all of a sudden, there was a new A&R man, so my then management at the time and I flew down to LA to talk to him to find out what's going on. They'd spent, I don't know, 120 grand American on the CD so far, or the record recording so far, and he wasn't really that interested in breaking someone else's artist. He had found Tiffany, and he wanted to break, his words were, I'm going to break a female artist this year. It's either you or the 16-year-old who has not played live before. So by the time we turned around and flew home, I had no longer had a deal, and all those songs and all that time and money was
gone. Yeah, it's weird how the industry works, eh? You know what I mean? Like, you never weird stuff. I mean, I sat once down in a music conference in LA with my manager, and got introduced to. The rap guy. I'm trying to think of the guy who I don't know why today I'm having this mind block, but I sat down in LA with one of the big rappers. I forget his name, and he works with David Geffen and everybody like that. Anyways, I sat down with him, and he has his own label. It was Def Jam Records, and I sat down with the guy in Def Jam Records, and the first thing he said to me was, I'm sitting down with you and doing you a favor because I don't do rock acts. And, I mean, do rap acts, right? And I says, but I'm good friends with Jay, so I'm going to give you this interview, right? So I just turned around, and I had a whole bunch of swag, right? Darby had, like, T-shirts, and I had toques and stuff, and all kinds of stuff, and CDs, and I gave it to him. I says, here, I got some merch for you. And I gave him, and then all of a sudden he liked me, right? And then he goes,
yeah.
And then he loved me. He says, oh, you know what? I'm going to give this stuff to my kids, these toques, this hats. This is really cool. And I promise I'll listen to a CD. And it was just like, yeah, okay, I know this ain't going anywhere, right?
Yeah. Well, right after, the timelines, trying to get them all straight, I did, John Kolodner from Geffen Records had observed the Headpins while we were on tour with Whitesnake, and he pulled me aside at the dismay of McLeod and the then management. And what did he say to you? What were you talking about? And I'm like, well, he just asked what I was doing, how I liked the record company that I was with. But after they found out that I was no longer with the Headpins, they called up and they sent me down to Nashville, and I did some writing down in Nashville.
Wow.
And one of those songs actually made it to the Never Look Back album, Bad Bad Boy.
Yep.
So, yeah, just strange turns, and I never did get a contract out of Geffen Records, but they paid for that trip. So you just got to keep one foot in it, other foot in it, and just hope that. Well, at this point in my career, to be quite honest with you, I don't think there's a huge future in growing any bigger. I think that right now, for the likes of me and the artists that came before me at my caliber, our objective, I think, right now, I guess I shouldn't be speaking for them, but truthfully, is just to maintain a healthy stage show. And, I posted on social media just like a week ago, who's the comedian, redneck comedian from down in the States, who said part of his act is, I was down in Vegas and went to see Megadeth, or I wish I could remember what it was.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
They announced that they were going to play some new material, and we all stood up and left. And it's like, yeah, because nobody wants to hear new material from the old guys. They just want to relive the old stuff. So you're stuck between this, when you're doing something new, and we just want to hear the hits. It's kind of like,
it's hard, isn't it? Yeah.
I've released 2 CDs in the past 4 years. When are you going to buy one of those? And then maybe we'll do something new. It's kind of like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? So
you're caught in
continuing to develop the live show and try to be adding something new, whether it's new original material or just something new to the set, just so that you're not stagnating.
Yeah. So you're still growing. You know what I mean? Like, you're growing as an artist still. right? That I think that's important, Darb. I think you're dead right. I mean, that's like going like talk about Paul McCartney. Go and see Paul McCartney, and Paul McCartney plays a brand new tune. Nobody cares, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, and he actually's got some good like newer stuff. And you listen, you go, that's a really good song, right? You know, I don't really get what people are not paying attention, but you know, it's like you said, he's between a rock and a hard place himself. You know, you're in that category where, you know, you've got major songs that you've done that people, you know. They tie, you know, Darb, really, they tie their life around it, right? You know what I mean? It gives you, there's moments, you know, like I said that to a friend of mine too, and this goes for you too. Like when I work at my job in the hospital, you know, we got a little office, and so, you know, we got the radio on, and I know when you come on, right? I hear a song you done, and I hear it, and it, you know, and then a bunch of us porters will start dancing around in the office for something to do, you know, if we're bored, right? You know. And I told that to another friend of mine, Brian Holden. He used to be in Brian and Liars, and Brian has his own blues band now. And Brian, his songs and your songs come on. I says, it's you or Darby, and I said, come on the radio, and I start dancing. He starts laughing. He says, well, that's good. I says, well, yeah, you know, you make me happy, right? I says, that's a.
Just make sure they don't have cameras watching you, right?
Well, they do. And I don't care.
Yeah, there you go. You get to that point. You get to that age where you just don't care.
Yeah, you just don't care no more. It's like, yeah, I'm good with it, right? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, Darb, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to say thank you very much, and I hope to see you live soon again when we get this thing under wraps. We will. We'll get it under wraps, and I hope you and Brian and your family are going to be safe and have a quiet Christmas, I guess, this year. We're all going to have a quiet one, right? So, what the hell?
Yeah, but at this point, we're all alive, and I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, I think I did, that I now know 3 people personally, close people, that have tested positive. I do believe it's out there. I do believe in masks and social distancing, and I'm doing my best to follow those rules because I'd like to get back to work. I'd like to stop.
Yeah.
Having the government have to give us money to survive. I'd rather work for my money, even though, quite honestly, I have not taken what I could take. I've taken a little bit, but I just want to work again. And so
I know.
you know, just put on a mask.
And we want to see you get out there, and I want to see you get back out there and play too, Darb. I do. And you know, and like you said, it's not ever going to be the same like when we had it years ago, but we can still bring something back. You know, like I know Brian talking about Brian Holm. Brian thinks, he said to me, you know, I think we might see a resurgent in the live music scene because people might be really hungry again. You know.
Yeah. Well,
I'm telling
first, right?
So. Yeah. Once we get there, I told Brian. I said, at least you're an optimist, Brian. I says that's a good thing.
Well, it's better to live in a positive atmosphere than it is a negative. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Better things happen if you're looking at the bright side than the opposite. So absolutely, try to stay positive and just keep motoring.
Yeah, keep moving on. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Darby. Have a safe holiday, okay? And I'll be talking to Brian next.
Well, lucky you. Okay, you take care, and thanks for connecting, and all the best.
All the best. Talk to you soon, Darby. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that was Darby Mills, and wow, that was really good. See, she's done a lot. She's incredible. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for Darby Mills. So, this is Izzy Dakota Jones with the Art of Doing podcast, and that was a nice long conversation with Darby Mills, and I was happy to do it. And we'll be talking to you soon. Bye for now.